Hey everyone, Justin again. So tonight, it's Monday night or Tuesday night now. Tonight, I'm going to kind of figure out how I want to do this and how many rows I'm going to get and generally where it's going to be. Before, it's kind of bigger layout it is now. It's kind of how it ended up with the tractor and the plow and whatnot. Um, Using the tiller, I kind of have a lot more control over how straight and everything else it ends up. And I'm going to kind of try to straighten it out and everything uh, this time, since I'm just doing it with a tiller and I'm not trying to fit the tractor around the yard and everything else. So, so what we're going to do is basically I've kind of got figured out where I want it to be. And so now we're going to basically kind of mark out my areas. And I'm actually going to prefigure my rows, because what I want to do is use my single ripper tine that I have for my tractor. And so it goes down about 20 inches, and what it does is breaks up the hard pan underneath and helps the plants find water and whatnot. And it also helps drainage, which is a big deal right there, because that spot right there lays wet all the time when we get a lot of rain. And so stuff doesn't grow very well because it doesn't like being drowned. It can't actually breathe when it's like that. So what I want to do is I'm going to go through, and I've kind of done some pre-measuring, but we're going to measure it real quick. I should probably get 10 rows on this bottom piece down here. And then up here on the top, I'm going to get 5 rows. And the row spacing is going to be basically 2 feet. So my push mower measures 22 inches. And so if I plant these rows 24 inches apart, it gives me roughly an inch on either side to run the push mower down, which sounds really close, and it is, but the idea is to help keep all of the grass and everything as low as I can and help keep the pressure down off the corn as much as I can. And so that's why I'm going to do it that way. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start marking stuff and kind of get that figured out. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start doing that now. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and start marking this out. And so basically I'm just going to start at my far edge right here along the lawn. And so I'm going to kind of set the tape measure down there. You can kind of see I got the one straight line to run towards the propane tank there. And so I'm going to kind of use that as my guide. And I'm only going as far as basically here where I'm standing, where that paint can is, because I got to try to leave some room for me to get by with the tractor and whatnot when I go by. And this doesn't really do that well because I think it has a lot of compaction to it. So we're going to go ahead and set the tape measure down here and try to do this all one-handed. So if we can get this thing strung out, what we're going to do is go through and mark every 2 feet. And then every 2 feet, I'm going to put a blue paint line. And so then that way, I'm going to do this on both ends, and I can kind of see where I need to go from each end with the tractor. So basically, I'm giving myself 2 points of reference. I'm going to start at one end and go to the other. And not necessarily for straight lines, because I'm that OCD, although I kind of am. It's more or less so that I can go through, and where I'm deep ripping this is where I'm going to plant the corn right over top of that. And so then that way they can go down and get all the nutrients they could reach. And because I'm using only a single shank ripper, it's not like I can rip this whole thing in a couple passes. So we're going to do it that way. And so we'll go ahead and get this stuff all marked out, and then we'll come back and kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go ahead and paint these now. So that's that one. Then we'll go 2 feet, and 4 feet, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, yep, I can count. 16, 18, and 20. All right, so that'll give me my 10 rows basically from here to the other end. Realize I should have just kind of like time lapse this just for fun, so you can see me screw around with a tape measure and try to do things, but this will kind of give you an idea. And so basically I'll start at one point here with the tractor and put the center of the shank, so the center of the tractor will be here, and then I'll just drive forward until I reach the other one, and then I'll pick it up and turn around and kind of do the same thing, just kind of visual indicators on each end. So now we'll go do the hill up there. Okay, so I got my rows basically marked on each end where I want to take off and make my way to on both up here on the hill and down here on the lower point down by the house. You guys are probably thinking, look at this guy, he's just trying to grow sweet corn and he's all worried about his ripper lines and planting this corn on top of it. And you're right. However, I'm trying to learn and become better at understanding agriculture and agronomics and how this stuff grows and how we can utilize the soil around us and the benefits of it and how to overcome the deficiencies in it and everything else, and do the best that I can. You know, I may be starting with a small sweet corn plot now. Maybe someday in the future I'll have 100 acres or something. I don't know, we'll see. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and get that ripper, that little single shank ripper on my tractor, and we're going to go ahead and get this done, so then that way that'll be ripped, and then I'm going to come through tonight, because by then the sun will be lower, the fireball in the sky behind me, and we'll be able to do our first tillage on this, basically to pick up the root balls, to start killing the grass off, and then I'll let that dry for a couple days. I say dry, it's pretty dry, but I'll let all that stuff die off for a couple days, and I'll come through and basically clean it off, do the best I can with it. And then before we get ready to plant, we'll probably do one more tillage pass just to refluff everything up and try to get rid of as much grass pressure as we can, and we'll get corn planted. Bought corn today. The wife picked it up for me. Thank you, Sarah. We want a whole different hybrid listen to me, I've been watching too much farming YouTube. Well, with a whole different sweet corn variety this time, instead of the bodacious, which is delicious, and I do like. It's what I've always been growing, and it's germinated well here and everywhere really, but it never really seems to take off. So we're trying a whole different one. I have to go back and see what seed she picked out for me this time. I'll let her pick it, but basically we're just going for something different to try it and see what it does. And so we have our corn. I got roughly 3 pounds. It's probably too much for what I got, but I didn't want to run out. So I got 3 pounds, and we're going to go ahead and see what happens. So let's stop chit-chatting and get my ripper on the tractor. Okay, so it's tractor time, which is kind of my favorite thing, but I'm weird like that. So this is kind of like my first, not my first tractor, but my first kind of bigger tractor. I say big, it's like a whole 40 horsepower, and you know, it's not big compared to anything these days, but there was one time when this is all a guy had, and this is what he fed his country with, so I think it's pretty cool. But anyways, we'll check the oil real fast. This thing doesn't really use any at all, and it looks pretty well awesome, actually. Let's take a look at that. A little bit full, but I keep it basically kind of full, because one, it doesn't use it, and two, it's been sitting for a bit, so it's not pumped up at all. But this thing has always been super loyal. It just starts right up and it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and start this thing. Don't mind the mess in the garage. I'm sure everyone else's garage looks just as bad as mine. Alright, let's see. So no choke. We're just going to make sure she's in neutral. Push the clutch in. Here we go. Oh, look at that. Would you just look at it. Okay. Let's go ahead and back this thing up here and get out of the garage. Reverse. Got a nice little foot throttle down there. All right. Nice and easy, don't run over anything. let's go get this thing hooked up and I'll be back. Okay, so this is my single point ripper I have. I apologize, the sun's like directly in my face, so. But anyways, I would have kind of shot me hooking it up, but I don't have any way to do this without, well, two hands, unfortunately. I don't have a third hand yet. So basically it just hooks up. It's like a normal 3-point, 2 points on the bottom, on the left and right, and then the top point on the top. And on the top point you can adjust kind of the forwards and back of it. I just have it set straight up, basically. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know, because I'm just kind of self-taught wizard. So anyways, so now we got this thing hooked up and we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I was saying, basically we're going to take the minty old tractor here and we're going to set that point down everywhere I have a blue mark, which happens to be Ford blue, by the way, because what blue wouldn't you use besides Ford blue? Set it down there and then basically go to the other end, turn around, come back and do it. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we got the bottom part basically all ripped. I think it went pretty well. Looks like it did a pretty good job. They got down there probably 10 or 15 inches deep. Anyways, and so that's going to work perfect, I think, for this to help break up all that crust. We're going to be able to come in here and kind of till this up better now. It popped some of the tree roots and stuff that were in here, especially over here towards the garage where this big pine tree is. I let it, make sure I really let it go deep there. So I think that's going to do a good job there. So we'll let's move on to the hill up here. I've already got the tractor all staged and ready to go. Look at it. Look at how majestic it is. Just sitting there. 1957 case 530. Well, JI case 530. For you kids who don't know who JI case is, you should look them up because, before just red tractors were cool, the orangish red and tan ones were way cooler. Should look those up. But yeah, so let's get this top hill done, and then we can decide if we're going to try to start tilling tonight, which is kind of getting late. I bet you it's probably 8 o'clock right about now. I don't know what time it is, so we'll get this done and we'll go from there. Okay, so we got everything ripped. I kind of apologized ahead of time on how the time lapse might come out or how well it's going to be. Apparently that camera I was using likes to drift. It's on a gimbal and it just kind of slowly turns itself and just looks the other way, regardless of what cool stuff I'm doing behind it, with minty old tractors and everything. But anyways, so we got everything all ripped. Let's go ahead and take a look at this and see what we think, and we'll go from there. I think this might be all we get done for tonight, but let's take a look. Okay, so we got this all ripped up. As you can see, there's going to be 5 rows up here, 10 rows down there at the house, and so this all kind of ripped up really good. It's there's some moisture down there, which is good because obviously that's kind of what we're after, is moisture with this. So I'm gonna let this stuff lay, I think, for tonight and kind of dry itself out on top. And so when I come through and start hitting it with a tiller, hopefully it'll kind of break up really well, and we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of material here to try to break up. Like a month ago, half of this wasn't even here, so it's kind of crazy, really. I shouldn't have waited as long as I did, but when you procrastinate, that's how things go. So, but yeah, there's some good moisture in there. It went down nice and deep, way deeper than you can see, which is great because basically what that's doing is breaking up, like I was saying, that kind of hard pack underneath, the hard pan underneath. and so the roots and stuff will be able to get down a lot better and get to the nutrients and the moisture that they need, because I have a feeling it's going to be another one of them summers where we don't get the rain we need when we need it, and we'll get too much when we don't need it. So we'll see what happens, but I think this is going to be it for tonight. We get a lot done, and I think probably tomorrow night we'll probably do our first bit of tillage here, and I'll use a different camera for that so we can get a time lapse so you can kind of see me going back and forth sped up, so it's not too boring, but you can kind of see what I'm doing. This gives you an idea how big this whole thing is going to be. And just think, this was only part of it. I had way more than this one time. So yeah, so I think we're going to kind of leave it off right here. So with that said, I appreciate you guys tuning in and checking this out. This is kind of our first big step right here. I think it was a good idea to go ahead and rip this like this, to break this up, because I've done it before, but I've never done like the whole thing. And maybe I should have, I don't know. But we'll see how this does here. So we're going to go ahead and get this tilled up, and then we're going to get our soil samples taken, and we're going to send those in, and we're going to find out what I'm deficient in. I have a feeling it's probably the pH balance. I have never put lime down. I can never find a good rule of thumb of how much to put down, and I'm really bad with the calculations for figuring pounds per acre of rate for stuff, because honestly it's probably pretty straightforward, but unless you know how to use it, it might as well be rocket surgery. So so we're going to figure that out, but we're going to send in the soil samples, and then that way they can give us a prescription, they call it. We're going to tell them we're growing corn, and they're going to give us basically per acre prescription. Obviously we'll have to adjust that for the micro size of my acreage here, but I think it's going to be a good thing, and I think it'll come out well. I think we're on to something probably really good. I wish I would have done this, because I feel like having you all with me kind of gives me the motivation to kind of go the extra steps and whatnot, and not just get it done, but kind of trying to explain what I'm doing and the process behind it, besides the glorious sunsets that I have here. If you're familiar with my Facebook and Instagram, you see these a lot, and this is why, because they're really awesome. But anyways, I guess I'll let you guys go. Stop staring at my sunset, and I'll try to get this edited and uploaded tonight so you guys can watch this, and we'll keep plugging along here. It's looking like we're going to get any rain for like another week or so, but if there's enough moisture in the ground, or if I can get this tilled in without too many passes, hopefully just one, one or two, so I can push the planter through and get them in and get them germinating, I think we'll be all right. So I'll let you guys go. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Thanks.